bloop. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Hopefully this is working. Once again, I gotta check the audio levels. Last week's stream was actually really short, which is why it's not up on my YouTube account. It was only like 40 minutes, and since it was only 40 minutes, I decided to record it differently, and I derped the recording, so I lost the Holy Paladin footage I was talking about. It was up on Twitch for a while, but I deleted the Twitch video before I made sure that my other video had compressed correctly, and it's pretty much like a complete loss. Like I lost everything that I was looking at. Or I lost all the footage I did in my Holy Pally. So that's a shame, but I think I'm gonna work around that a bit differently. So it's okay that that it didn't actually record. What I'm thinking about doing in these next couple weeks, actually, now that I'm actually doing some testing on the beta realms, is I'm gonna do a first look series. Is I think like just a short glimpse. So I'm gonna do it like a short look at all of the classes in beta. Like I'm gonna start a pre-made. I already have a few pre-mades, but I'm gonna get one of each class, and I'm gonna look at like the differences. So I'm kind of gonna give like a Cliff Notes overview of what's going on with each of the classes heading into beta and heading into the Mist expansion. And then that way, like, you know, if you already know the class decently well, it should be as simple as just like seeing specifically like little things to look for, like what I usually do, tips and tricks that you normally wouldn't find on a website like noxic.com or something that teaches you your rotations. So yeah, sorry about the Holy Pally rotation lost footage that I had last week. Basically, like to summarize what I was looking at when I was talking about Holy Paladins, is I talked about, like in two parts, I did mana management and cooldown management. For mana management, I talked about how important it was to keep Holy Shock on cooldown, when to use Divine Plea. You want to like judge, of course, like once per minute, and when to like fit that in your rotation, and why it's okay to like judge early. And I also talked about meleeing things as a source of getting your mana back, and how you want to try to get some melee swings in for some mana return. Crusader Strike when possible is also a mana saver, and when you're going to use Guardian of the Ancient Kings, you get an 85 that can also be a mana saving talent. You can kind of figure out how that would work. And then I kind of like did that to transition into holy power generation and how to like dump your holy power. If you're coming from Ret, you would think it's like a combo point system, kind of like a rogue, in that you wouldn't dump your holy power unless you're at 3 no matter what. If you're a holy paladin though, it's different, because it's not like Templar's Verdict where it's 3 or bust. You can dump your holy power early, it's okay. If you dump your holy power early, it's like it'll do less throughput, but like instead of, you know, 1 combo point is this big, 2 is this, and 3 is this, it's like really even, 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, one of the things I talked about is like glyphs that didn't make sense when I first started playing my Holy Paladin, like the one that the Glyph of Longword. Glyph of Longword, when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, why would I need this? Turn it into a hot. Okay, I guess if I needed hots, I'd turn it into. But I was talking about how that could be really situationally useful. You could drop Longword on someone every 6 seconds, and it would run the duration with 1 blip of holy power, and that's perfect because that's how long your holy shotgun cooldown is. So stuff like that. And if you think about it, the more you're dumping holy power early, the more mana you're saving. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a throughput loss to dump your holy power early. So that's kind of like what I talked about in holy power. And then I talked about watch out for forbearance, when to use your bubbles, throughput cooldowns, divine plea, lay on hands, sacrifice. I mean, I talked about when to use all of those, and when to use Divine Shield, the cool tricks you can do with it, glyphed or unglyphed. And I also said that Hand of Freedom is cheaper than Cleanse, so if you have a chance to abuse Hand of Freedom or Salve, use those, because they're really cheap. So that's what happened last week. If you missed Holy Pallies, to honor the Oreos, because Oreo is my favorite cookie, I had a question about sub-rogues. Okay, to be honest, like I know I have like one of 85 class. I have one of each class at 85. Like, so I have all 10 classes. But my rogue, last time I played it sub was like kind of at the expansion release, like the Kata expansion release, and I played it as sub PvP. I didn't do it as PvE rotations. But here's what I remember about it for PvE. I remember that it's the, like, and this is all over the rogue forums, it is the absolute worst AoE in the game, I think, to play a sub-rogue. So if there's anything with AoE, you're better off just respecking. So yeah, just throwing that out there up front. combat or mute have much better AoE than sub ever will. So yeah, that's like one thing I remembered about it. It said crap AoE, which means it's kind of a sucky spec to do in dungeons because, I mean, even if the expansion release, I know that things were really controlled and you were CCing and stuff, but really you don't want to worry about like doing AoE as sub. You want to respec. So yeah, that was basically like. And then like what else I remembered about it is it was the fastest leveling spec for me. I leveled my rogue in heirlooms and with the heirloom like daggers with the agility enchant, so I was like really decked out for a rogue as I was leveling. But what I do remember is like you can pretty much like ambush one shot most of the mobs until you're kind of around Outlands-ish level, and then it takes 2 shots. And then when you kind of get to Wrath content, you have to vary it up your 2 shots. You need to Shadow Step, open an ambush, and then eviscerate, and then like pre-med, ambush, eviscerate, and you kind of like alternate those 2, and you could go like 1 mob, 2 mob, 1 mob, 2 mobs. Pretty smooth leveling. I didn't even have to use recuperate because I've leveled 3 rogues, and the one that I leveled for Kata was at the very beginning of the Kata release content, so not much has changed. So that's what I remember about them in a PvE sense. But in the rotations, I remember that you kind of have to have a lot of haste to do the rotation correctly, and you also need to be in a raid group essentially, because not Trick's the Trade, but the sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head, like trying to remember rogue stuff. Honor Among Thieves, that's what it's called. Honor Among Thieves works really well in a raid scenario. If you're not in a raid scenario, it's hard to get those extra combo points. So to really shine as a PvE sub rogue, you kind of have to be in a raid, and you kind of have to have a lot of haste. I think haste is the primary stat, because I think across all the rogues, haste is like a really good go-to stat. I know Mutilate has like mastery as their top DPS, but secondary, I mean, after spell hit. But I know that haste simmed at the, or at least it was at this gear level at the beginning of the expansion. Haste was really close to mastery as Mutilate, even as an assassination rogue. So, I mean, if you're multi-specking across your tunes, like haste was the way to go. And you need a decent amount of it to play as sub, because the rotation is kind of like Destruction Warlock. You have like a shitload of stuff you need to keep on cooldown, and a bunch of buffs and like dots and stuff you got to keep up. It looks a lot of complicated at first. Like if you were to hit up like a site to tell you the rotation or whatever, it would probably look like a lot, but it's really not that bad once you get used to it. I'm trying to remember if it's Slice and Dice or Rupture. I think Slice and Dice gets refreshed if you're Mutilate, so I think it's Rupture if you're sub. Basically, you get Rupture up, and then you don't have to worry about it for the whole fight, like as long as you're doing your eviscerates. So that was like one of the things. Kind of like at that Kata release, it was comparable DPS to either do daggers, and like you would just have like heavy hitting backstab, so you want to get the backstab talents. And I know that they return more energy too. I think it was a glyph. You basically like glyph or spec backstab any way that you can, and that was like pretty good DPS, but it was also like decent DPS. It wasn't as like, that was the top PvE rotation is with daggers, but if you wanted to, it wasn't that far off to use like a really slow main hander and just use Hemorrhage as your primary combo point builder, and then just do the rotation like normal. I do remember that you want to glyph Slice and Dice, even though like your mastery actually does increase the Slice and Dice duration. So I remember that much, but it's it's kind of like Rupture and Mutilate. You can refresh it at any time, so you kind of want to be smart about when to refresh your Slice and Dice. I mean, the more you push it off and the higher your combo points, the less you'll have to refresh it, the more other finishing moves you can get out. But that's something that you could like use to get a little bit more damage out, like it's a skill cap, like a skill. Like you can show off your skills a bit more if you know when to refresh your Slice and Dice, was one of the things. And then I remember that Recuperate, which was like, that's the primary thing that gives you energy in that spec. It's like a dot, so it can be clipped. So you want to get like a dot timer, like I have for Shadow. Like here, I'll just like attack a mob and show you like what my dot timers look like in case you forgot. I'm sitting out here farming, waiting for Manrik to come by, if you're wondering like why I'm sitting all the way out here. But get a dot timer like this, and this is Forte Exorcist that I'm using. you could set recuperate as one of these bars, like it, you know, Forte Exorcist isn't like choosy or whatever with like it. Forte Exorcist isn't a choosy add-on with like if you're using dots or hots or personal buffs or anything like that. Like pretty much like when you first load up this add-on, it'll have everything, and then the way I made it look like so nice and pretty and only showing like three dots on this particular tune was I had it I filtered out everything. There's like a really nice filtering system in Forte Exorcist, so you can filter out everything. So yeah, that's what I remember about playing sub and PvE, is like set your UI to just have everything like front and center, because you really need to know like how many combo points you have, because pretty much I remember in that spec you want to always do something at 5 combo points. You don't want to like clip it early like you do with mute. So have your combo point bar front and center, have your energy front and center, because you don't want to cap, like there's all these weird situations, because all your finishing moves, since you're always at 5 combo points, will almost always be like a gain in energy, because like it refunds the energy cost of finishing move, and your energy's constantly regenning at whatever it is times haste. So like yeah, you want to have like your energy bar, your combo bar, and all of your dots and hots and stuff like right up front and center if you're playing sub. Regarding like the burst rotation that they do, I don't think I ever glyphed Shadow Dance, but I did get real like mathematical, because you want to fit like you basically during a Shadow Dance you want to maximize ambushes, but you don't have like unlimited energy, so you kind of want to like pull your energy going into it, and you also want to have like all of your other stuff running, like you want to have all your timer finishing moves like kind of already rolling, so you don't have to worry about refreshing them during your Shadow Dance. Oh, and another thing, like I know that Slice and Dice is really good for like PvE, but in PvP, that was like one of the things I didn't really put up as well. Like I wasn't that good at getting Slice and Dice up, and I would kind of only like get it up if I like already got Rupture on a target and I was like focusing him down, and that was like our kill target or something. Then I would like Slice and Dice up. So yeah, that's what I remember off the top of my head. But yeah, and the Shadow Dance rotation was like. It's been a while. I think Vanish is also a cooldown in sub, so I'm gonna look that up, because I don't want to spread false information on something as important as that, because I remember it was like really critical to get that. Just going to noxic.com. Really good site. Like I have so many classes that I juggle between that this site is kind of like where I unofficially go to get all my information at a glance. If I want to get more in depth, I can like Google it and find. There are a lot of good guides out there, especially for the rogues. Rogues have a good community of guides, people who theorycraft. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. When you exit stealth, you get that little boost to your damage, and then when you ambush, you get that, what's it called? Find weakness. So yeah, you're gonna try to maximize that find weakness on your burst rotations, which means like Shadow Dance will bring it up, and then you also don't want to like vanish immediately after, because you want to maximize your find weakness uptime. So I remember it's important to like spread your vanish out, throw up a pre-med like after, and then wait for the find weakness buff to fully fall off before you like vanish again. Because pre-med is like another DPS booster, remember? Because you're sub. Let's see if I can remember anything else about top of my head rogue or sub rogues. But yeah, basically, like your Shadow Dance rotation changes based on your haste levels, because you want to maximize ambush, and it'll be modified by your haste. But the gist of it, from what I can remember, was I think I did ambush, ambush, eviscerate, ambush, pre-med. Oh, Shadow Step was in there too, like Shadow Step, of course, to get the extra damage, and then like there was a pre-med, ambush, eviscerate, and then maybe fit one more ambush in, I don't remember. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Anyway, So kind of what's going on in the future, my live streams, we are kind of like calling it quits on clients. I think, well, I mean, we're not calling it quits on clients. If you want to run with us, like definitely contact Razian about getting a mount run. But I think we're out of clients, and you know, every time I log in on any tune, I do a /who on Stormwind just to see like how many people are online, and there's used to be like 150, like 200 people in Stormwind at any given time. I'm lucky to get like 30, like on a busy time. So pretty much like on this server, everyone has stopped doing everything like for pretty much the end of this expansion. Like nobody's going to be running anything. So what I think I'm going to do instead is I'm going to focus on doing the beta content stuff. So yeah, instead of like live streaming, I'll probably start putting up some class videos. And I mean, the cons of this are I won't be sitting here talking and responding like to people, and I won't be like saying stuff off the top of my head or explaining like up to the second, like near second explanations of why I'm like pressing certain spells or whatever. So like that's like what I'm losing, but what I'm gaining is I can like record those videos if I do like class analysis in a high definition. Like I put up a few unedited videos of like recent kills that I thought were good that I recorded as I was doing them, like the Spine and Madness, or not Spine. Yeah, no, 2 healed Spine, and I also put up my Herald of the Titans run I did on an alt. That's kind of like the quality of video that you'd be seeing if I did that class analysis of the beta. So better quality videos, and then they'll also be shorter. I understand that live streaming is like, you know, a 2-hour endeavor, and like you really probably don't have time to sit here and watch me talk about WoW for 2 hours. So they'll be fast and to the point. So there'll probably be some more better pros doing it that way. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna like focus on in the future. Is I'm gonna get beta videos up once I'm familiar enough with beta. I'm familiar with, like, I can just like be frank and say that I've played with the new Warlocks. I don't really like Destro. I thought I would, like when I read the changes, that's what the spec that I spec'd first was Destro, but I don't like Destro. Demonology's out of control, but there's a post saying that it's because of the bugged, what's it called? Basically they're glitched, that's why they're doing so much damage. So like Demonology is gonna get toned down once this like fix goes through, but Demonology is really cool now that they like made it it's like totally different. Like it's a really cool rotation now, and Affliction's still pretty cool too. So like I could talk about Warlocks, I could talk about Priests. Like my Priest is the one that I'm actually trying to level to 90 so I can get into some raid content, and my Paladins on there as well. I haven't tried Prot yet. I've only tried Ret and Holy, and I really didn't play a whole lot around with Ret because it was one of the first tunes I copied over. So I don't have a whole lot of Ret information, but I have a lot of Holy info I could drop, and I've also played quite a bit with DKs, like my Death Knight's on there, and I made a pre-made Death Knight. So those are the classes I'm playing on beta right now. My goal is to just get all the classes on there, and I can talk about them all because I kind of have a general idea of what's going on, but you know, I don't know every little nuance. I would say I'm really familiar with the classes I just listed, but I'm not familiar with all of them. So look to that in the future. I'll like throw up some videos of beta class coverage. But kind of what I was talking about before I went on that long tangent was these streams that I'm doing. They're probably gonna be coming to a close depending on our raid week. I'm thinking about taking a week-long vacation in the very near future. Like this might be next week. So yeah, I might be not streaming next week, and then we don't have a whole lot of clients lined up for the next couple weeks, I don't think. So since we're like don't have a whole lot of clients, yeah, since we don't have like a whole lot of clients in the near future, like yeah, you just saw my calendar. Pretty much not gonna. We'll probably not like stream, or I won't be streaming. And I know that I said that I would stream like my alts or something if we weren't doing my primary group, but the sad truth is I probably won't be able to get one of my alts into a pug because there's just like no activity going on right now. Like nobody is playing. So instead, I'll worry about getting the beta classes out. And then, you know, I'm gonna like play it by ear and see how good that works, like the beta class coverage or whatever. If it's like really good, like if it's like a good thing that I want to do like in the future and I want to keep like working it. Crap, I'm on event again. I always forget to sign an event when I'm live streaming. Damn it, I just opened another Flash media. Hopefully it didn't screw with my stream. You know what's funny? Like every time I do these live streams, I always like I'm secretly scared of like I'm always really tense for Spine and Madness. Really, those are the only fights that give me trouble, like healing. Or they don't give me trouble, but they're the ones that I actually pay attention to. Like those are the ones that I put my concentration into. But ever since that second week, I've been really focusing on Moorchalk because for whatever reason, like our raid doesn't pay attention to Moorchalk, and we always like wipe to it. It's funny that we're like the best guild in this server that has Madness on Spine, Madness and Spine on Farm, but we die to Moorchalk probably more than like all these other guilds. But let me get in vent so I can. Hello. I can tell you what I think about the what I'm thinking about the how. I think this is a 25-man. Is that the 25-man cauldron? Oh. Everyone should take 2 flasks if they can. Bags are freaking full. Anyway, like my first impressions are, I'm really glad that they're taking the direction that they're taking with like returning to dailies and like these scenarios. Which I looked at the scenarios, but I mean they're cool little things that you can do, but they're not like as cool as dungeons in my mind. And the dungeons are like, they're pretty easy, like, so far. I haven't done the heroics, but I've done the normal dungeons while leveling. I'm level 88, 89? I don't remember what level I am. But basically, I've, like, leveled through the dungeons, I've healed and DPS'd them, and they're just like, eh. Not as difficult as the Cata Release dungeons. And the Cata Release dungeons, like, that's the thing. Everyone keeps saying that they're really difficult. They're kind of more like they were back in BC. Like, that's... I mean, healing was crippled, but the dungeons itself felt like Burning Crusade. They had all these like things you had to memorize for the trash packs and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I think they could tune up the difficulty on them, but basically they want it to be more approachable. So if you're new to the game, they don't want you like learning like your class and like all of this stuff. Like they want you learning the class probably at a more appropriate pace, is why they like tone down the dungeons. But it's not a bad decision. I'm not like angry or anything that they're being retuned that way, because I mean pretty much after I start raiding, I'm pretty much gonna be raiding like heroic raid content within the first like 2 weeks or so. So it doesn't really matter to me that dungeons are undertuned. Screw up my bubbles, Pacha. Anyway. I'm supposed to be pointing my camera towards the other group that's tanking. Like, if you see where we're tanking him, all the way over there. They're fine. The reason I ran over there is because I thought they Razium was DPSing again. Like in the last attempt, one of the 2 reasons we wiped, we're down a person, so that's like one of the reasons we wiped, but there's like another reason. The other reason we wiped is because we, like, the people that were over there was we only had 3 people. Like one of the persons that was over there didn't actually run over, so we had like there was 3 people on that side, and Razium apparently was in his balance spec, so he like wasn't even in his healing spec. So that's like not so bad. Um. Okay, so I think the amount of content that they're putting in the game for Mists is looking to be really good so far. Like that's one of the things that I'm liking after seeing that beta. I'm not gonna worry about that because it's like whatever.
Twilight's hammer is retreating. The temple is ours. Fortify your positions within.
Ugh.
Thank you, sisters. I am in need. The old gods have shown themselves. The tide of darkness signals from their gaping maws towards the temple.
Anyway,
We must
so I like all the stuff that they're putting in to do because that's something that I was thinking about. Like I read a forum post of, you know, just another person who was like venting and angry about where the game is going and like the direction it's taking, and
strike them down if we are to
there's a lot of people that are playing this game now that are kind of fairly new. I've noticed, like it's really common for me to run into people who are either picked up the game for the first time in Wrath, or even there's a lot of people who just picked it up for Kata. So like the player base as a whole I think is changing. It's a lot different than when it first started out. Remember, there was a lot of people when it first started out that were pretty hardcore because they're coming from, like they were coming from a EverQuest background, basically. So yeah, that was. Anyway, and one of the things about the game back in vanilla, like in the EverQuest days, the like the difficulty of it wasn't very casual friendly, and it wasn't even just friendly at all. Like there's a lot of stuff in the game that was like an unnecessary grind that really sucked to do. So I think a lot of people who look back on those days finally just they're not thinking about the harsh truth that the game actually was pretty unpolished and broken and all that stuff. But one of the things that was really enjoyable about it is that there was all this stuff that you needed to like farm and all these reps that you needed to grind and all this crap you had to do. When you were out there like doing that stuff, you were like actually out in the world like doing a lot of these things. So it was a lot of like running around these new zones that you know had never seen before, and there's a lot of like cool stuff and people out there like making things happen. And you know, sometimes you get into a zone and there'd be like this crazy epic PvP battle. Well, I played on a PvP server, it's not like that for me anymore, but there was a time once that you know, epic stuff like that would happen, or like I'd accidentally wander into a raid boss at level 16 because they existed out there. So I mean, yeah, like it was a different game back then, and I think what they're doing like as a design team is they're trying to recapture that like that sense of like wonderment that the game used to hold for a lot of people, by like bringing people back out into the world. Because I mean, really what the game's come to is it's just like a solo quest sort of thing now. And there was a time that I really enjoyed that. Like when I first picked up Wrath of the Lich King, I actually didn't want to raid. Like over the years when I've been playing WoW, there have been times where, due to like my work or due to when I was in school, I just am not the type of person that can sit and play these kind of things casually. So I would like purposely cancel my account and not play for a really long time, and I'd like really miss out on like raid content or just like new stuff because like wasn't subbed to WoW. And then I'd come back, and when I came back, I did a lot of like solo play. And back in Wrath, I came back and like my solo play was like the reason I resubbed was to do Battlegrounds for one of the patches. And then like another time was I just wanted to like flip on techno music and just go solo questing and grind out like, you know, daily quests and stuff like that. So I'm really glad that they're like bringing that back. Actually, that's one of the things I appreciate. Let's see. One of the other things I really appreciate about like the Wrathen days, or like back then, like apart from like running around and trying to do all that stuff, is like there was kind of like a bunch of little like things that could keep you occupied, because gear like wasn't, I mean it wasn't handed out at first. I mean, it was really easy to get if you raided, but if you didn't raid, it wasn't like handed out. So there's all these like little things you could do to like grind for gear every day. You could like do like a daily dungeon, and you could like grind some rep or something, and you could like work on crafting, and you could actually like work at crafting. Like there was a grindable way to do it. So I mean, it just felt like there was like a lot of stuff to do. And I think now with the access of like these finders in the game, like it's just too easy to just sit back and like do that, like do finders and not have to worry, because you know, like raid finder, dungeon finder, you could just like solo queue, be totally geared in a day. Like I've done it with all my 85s. So I think it's really cool that they're trying to get people back out and working on other stuff aside from just like this instant gratification tool model that they've set up. I have a lot of mixed feelings about that, actually. Like the whole looking for era, the patch, when that patch came out, I really didn't like it. Like I was really against looking for dungeon when it first was released. But I mean, I don't know what I would do without it now, because it's like, you know, if I'm on in the middle of the night trying to play, there's no way I'd be able to find a group on my server. I'd have to like run out and just like do dailies or something, which there's just not that many of anymore. So I'd just be bored. I'd probably stop playing. But you know, with this new finder, it can keep me playing. I can instantly do whatever I want whenever, and that's really cool. I'll heal group 2. Whew, almost holy fired there. That would have been bad. Yeah, stop healing tank. This is my favorite combo. Ah, damn it. I was trying to get my Divine Hymn to line up there so I could get that extra tick. Will. Bum, 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 bum. This is the song I sing when I'm raiding. What else do I like about our Mists Panda Land? I don't like the pet battles, and I have actually tried them. They're not that good. Some people might really like them. I'm not going to be one of those people though, so you won't find me screwing around with pets too much in Mists Pandaria. It's basically going to be archaeology for me, another one of those things that on the to-do list eventually, but I'm not going to actively be doing it. That would be silly. Drinking like sweet tea. Probably shouldn't be bubble spamming here. I should just be doing raw throughput. Looks like that's what our raid needs at the moment. Don't heal the tank. Didn't actually check the audio levels, so let's see if that's sounding not shitty. Sounds good to me. Something else I kind of looked into is, since I'm not really raiding, I'm doing, like, I'm basically not really doing real beta feedback testing. Like, this feedback that I've been giving is, I got a hold of some numbers from some 90s, like some logs, and then some like base stats and stuff like that, and then like I took those numbers and like did a lot of theory crafting with them, kind of like right up the front, and kind of like compared them against what the other community members were posting out there for some of the numbers. I mean, basically did that for priests and didn't really do it for any other class. So did a lot of theory crafting. That's what I've done, and I haven't really done any raid testing yet to see how it works out practically, like to see how like healing the raid damage goes. But I have been following it like semi-decently, like semi-closely. And what I really appreciate is that these like talents, the choices, the different stuff you can do is, I mean, there are a lot of people who are claiming the sky is falling for priests. Like I read the vodka article too and saw like that the numbers aren't like lining up as perfectly, but I also looked at kind of like usage, spell usage, and I feel like you could squeeze out a lot more throughput, or you could snipe a lot more heals if you were playing a bit differently than some of the logs that I've looked over. So I really like where the expansion's going, and I don't have any plans of like changing my main or anything like that. Yeah, so I'm just gonna give Seth power infusion here right off the bat. Ugh. Go Rapture. Shit, my speakers are breaking. Mentioned how fun it is to be a clothy on this stuff. I'm sure I've mentioned that at one point or the other, but yeah, being a clothy here, really fun, let me tell you. Sweet. Hard combo coming up. This is stupid. Oh, something I keep meaning to do. I need to hop on the forums and make a justification for Holy Nova being a baseline again instead of being a glyph. That's something I keep meaning to do and I keep forgetting about it. Huh. I didn't even know that staff existed. Hopefully that tea that I'm drinking isn't like super loud in my stream here. What I really want to do, or what I would like to see in WoW, since I'm kind of like off the top of my head talking about what I think of mists, I would really like this game to return Let's talk about what I think should happen. So we're in beta testing right now of Mists, but they did set a release date. I know that means that, yeah, technically stuff can still change, but it also means that it's going to be, we're getting down to the wire here in terms of like changes. Like you can't make sweeping class changes this close to release, you have to make minor adjustments. So what I would love to see before the expansion releases, I think that Holy Chakra Stances, and I've posted 6 posts about this, like 6 threads about Chakra Stances, and I feel like I've been saying this all along, but big forum posters, like big players who do a lot of work for like beta testing, like people who are really have a big say in like how this stuff goes down, are also now saying the same things. It's too punitive to have like a stance. I mean, Chakra was initially supposed to be like an enhancement to like what you were already doing. It bastardized into a stance game when the previous incarnation like wasn't really working. So basically, if I could change it now, it'd be too hard to make it not a stance. What I think they should do is, instead of having like a 15% boost to your single targets or whatever, or your AoE, they should probably nerf it down to 10%, is my opinion. And it's not like I want the whole class nerfed down to 10%, it's just, if they nerf the 2 chakra stances, it's not as punishing to be in the wrong one, and you're trying to fulfill like a role that's not that right stance. And then the like along with making it a 10% like instead of a 15, I think they should compensate by bringing all of the heals up like 5% because just right now priests are lacking pretty severely in terms of throughput supposedly. I mean, Blizzard internal testing affirms this that that's not really the case, but there are a lot of people showing logs that they're pretty far behind, and the people that are pulling ahead and at least being comparable classes are relying on pretty heavy power word solace spam, which that shouldn't be the determining factor in making you like a workable class. So that's one thing I would like to see changing. I really like. I know discipline apparently is underperforming, but I think that they should change Archangel to a once per minute instead of once every 30 seconds. Like having like a what is it up to now? Like a 20-30% healing booster on a 30-second cooldown. It's too mandatory. Like it's too mandatory to be ignored anymore, and it's supposed to be an optional talent. So I really think they should just like up the cooldown. Like I think the percentage on it is fine. I think they should just up the cooldown, and that would even encourage people to use it with that new spirit shell. So I think it's like a good change, right? Makes sense. Breather step out. Oof. Man, this is confusing. I'm not. If you can't tell, I'm not that good at like working with people that I've never played with before. Like I'm pretty much like screwing this up.
Beware.
Branderson, step out.
Beware.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. That is the craziest thing. Weapon looks really cool too. And it's a 2.9 weapon speed. Damn. I want it. So yeah, I want to see Archangel nerf. I want to see Chakras nerfed. Is there anything I want to see buffed? I think they're still like kind of tinkering around with Mindbender and Power Word Solace. I think making it a longer cast time was the right move, because a 1.5 second cast was too powerful. I think they did a smooth move by reverting the change on mana gained and making it like a 2-second cast. That was pretty good, because then now it's not like you're fighting every little global to do a Solace. It's supposed to be like the way Tiller Currents works now for Shamans. So that was a good change. I think they're not really... I mean, they've released a lot of numbers about pets, but I think pets scale with intellect, so I know that Power Word Solace is going to be like the positive mana active regen tool that I would probably want to pick up until I had enough mana, and then I would pick up From Darkness Comes Light, of course. I might actually pick up Mindbender at the release if it scales with intellect, because if I can get that one extra tick in with intellect, and it's a 1-minute cooldown, that's just like, okay, every time my my Tailoring and Cloak enchant procs, I'll just like line up my new Engineering Tinker and get hopefully extra melee hits off with that little critter. That's how I think it works. I did some testing and it was hard to tell if the haste was making my inherent player haste was making it go, or if it was my spell power that was making the little shadow critter do extra things. No, Mirai's not here to tricks those to me. Backpedal, 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 backpedal. I can't backpedal because my my key bindings don't allow for it. button is so freaking cool. I'm not going to be very talkative just for tonight's stream. I don't really know what to talk about. I feel like I'm not like expert on the new Mists expansion. I've just done a lot of little reading on like patch notes and MMO champ. That's basically like the extent of my knowledge. Because I'm only like, I'm not even level 90 yet in my tune that I'm leveling through it. In general, like what I've been doing these last couple weeks, like for fun, when I play WoW, just kind of been going on different tunes. If I haven't spec'd something in a while, like I was arms prot my warrior, I was like, oh, I haven't been Fury in a while, I just like respec. And then play with that DPS rotation until it's cool, and then I'll like do a bunch of gemming and enchanting and see how much DPS I can do with like the gear that I have. Pretty much like aside from Twisted Mind, which is like best in slot, all my other tunes, like I have 1085s, they're pretty much like the other 9 don't have good gear. 2 of my tunes have their 4-piece bonuses from like Raid Finder, 3 actually. So yeah, 3 of my tunes have like the 4-piece set bonus, and then there are 2 that also have like at least the 2-piece, but I mean I have some tunes that don't have like any bonuses on tier, they just have like random smatterings of gear. Hell, I have a tune that's still like decked in craftable blue PvP gear that I used to get it into Raid Finder, and I just have been really unlucky with getting gear upgrades. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing, is like I'll get on, if I get on at all, and I kind of like hop on a tune and go, oh, I haven't played this like rotation in a while, and I'll just like do whatever that tune's rotation is. Seth, you DC?
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beware.
Start green. If you get the debuff, just run into the blue in the middle. Spunky, run in the middle. I'm just gonna spell it there. I'm just gonna double back res. Seth's back here. Blink through that, Seth. There's a patch on the ground. Can't reach you mid. These tombs get together.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Beware.
Brr, you darn tootin'. Evangelism fell off. Incoming mass. Another thing I've been doing to pass the time on all my 85s is, like, I'm really not that good at professions, like, considering I have so many 85s, so something I did a couple weeks back is it just, like, hit them all. Like, that was the week I dropped enchanting for engineering. Like, it wasn't just engineering that I was leveling that weekend, but I was also re-leveling enchanting on a different tune, leatherworking, skinning, mining, herbalism, inscription, and blacksmithing. Like, I was getting all those professions up to max level. Inscription and blacksmithing still have a little bit of ways to go. They're in Wrath, and you know how, like, Wrath leveling sucks on those professions. So yeah, once I have those covered, I think I'll have, like, one of each class at 85, and also have, like, one of each of the professions. My alchemist tune is transmute, so I think what I'm gonna do if I ever start a monk is I'm gonna make it a, like, one of the other specializations. I haven't decided, elixirs or potions. Maybe just another transmute. Transmute's really nice. I don't know. Probably myself. Actually, I'll barrier with me in mid, and I'll paint up Raz or something, I don't know. That's a good plan. I'm solo healing, right? Since I'm not really doing anything in this tonight's stream, I think I'm gonna just like cut it off on exactly like 2 hours. Tonight. Here's what I can say since I'm playing all the classes and I'm just kind of like goofing around on everything. The classes that get my vote for being like really hella cool right now, I kind of was like Frost for a really long time. My Death Knight, I didn't really spec Unholy that much. Like, I mean, I've done it a couple times before, but my Death Knight's usually like my go-to alt in most cases, and I've kind of been like either Frost or Blood through it since its inception. So the few times I played Unholy, one of them was Tank. I don't know. The Unholy DPS spec that I've been playing is, it feel like, I thought it was kind of like a face roll at first, but for min-maxing there's actually a lot of different things you can do per global, and it's like the globals are like 1 second, so you have like 1 second to do it, and it just feels like really fast. So I'm having a lot of fun playing that. It feels like Combat Rogue, only like more complicated in my mind, is the best way to describe it in terms of like how frantic it feels. I'm also having fun playing my Feral Druid. Something I haven't played in a while is like Feral DPS up in Balance. I mean, Balance is fun too. Like, Balance is pretty cool, unique mechanic, but playing Feral is cool too. So those are the two melee DPS I'm enjoying. I'm having a lot of fun playing my Warlock as Destruction at the moment. I was like Demonology and Affliction for a while, now I'm back to Destruction. And Destruction's just like complicated. I think that's why I like it. I mean, it's not like complicated, it's like mash things in a priority, but there's a lot of things to mash, so that's why I like it. Hey, save your hero, we have exhaustion. Should have done that at the start. I don't know why I didn't. Mid, you and I? Fingers got clumsy fingered for a second. Hey, here's something cool. Been watching a lot of TV recently. I've been watching Cougar Town. Basically, my little brother got Netflix. I've been watching Cougar Town. I've been watching Mad Men. And I've been watching Game of Thrones Season 2. Which, I don't know. It's pretty good. It's one of those things that's almost as good as the book. Like the Game of Thrones series on HBO. It's pretty good. Although I'm not saying that those books are like the best I've ever read. I mean, I've seen better, but they're pretty good. I don't know. My friend and I that read a lot of these kind of like high fantasy books talked a bit about like Game of Thrones, and he said he doesn't like it as much because of the magic isn't as engaging. Like it's kind of more like a gritty realism. But that's why I think it's good. Anyway, so I watched Game of Thrones Season 2. It's pretty cool. If you haven't checked out Mad Men, that's quickly becoming like my new favorite drama. I'm only on Season 3, so I don't know like how good it's been, how good it gets or how bad it gets like from here. But so far, it's been like a really compelling show to watch. And I was like looking up to see what other people were saying about it because I've been out of the loop and not watching it for over the years, and they really need to like, I don't know, the people that talk about it just seem like they just don't understand like drama when they see it. Or they don't understand like the stylist. Like one of the comments I was reading like from a well-respected reviewer was that the pace of the show moves too slow and it's not engaging because there's like all these characters, but it's just like boring because everything is so still. And I thought about like where that's coming from, and where it's coming from is that the style that this show is being filmed at, it's filmed in the style that like 60s film was constructed, where there was long takes and not a whole lot of cuts or jumps, and it just like, I don't know, it sickens me that people are just so like stimulated when they watch TV or movies nowadays that they can even sit through something with a still shot that lasts longer than like 10 seconds, where it gets too boring to them. Like that just drives me crazy that people's attention spans are so small. But yeah, as a drama, the characters in that show are incredibly well developed. That's probably one of the best written shows that I've seen in a long time, was this Mad Men. And I think the reason that it keeps me just like glued to the screen is the actresses in Mad Men really make that show just phenomenal. So that's what I've been watching a lot of. It's like Mad Men. Cougar Town is my trash TV that I get to watch when I don't want to watch Mad Men. And like I said, I watch Game of Thrones. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of TV recently instead of like playing WoW. Did Cauterize never proc there? That's weird. Yeah, good game engineering. Should have checked to see if he had weakened soul first.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beware.
At least it's staying over there.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beware.
Watch out, rush in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good thing I'm a human. Yeah, I was gonna say. Hang on, wait for me to heal before I can stand. Okay, you're safe to stand. I was gonna say, like, do a countdown or something. Need to get a bubble off. Really slow reactions tonight. I'm like missing everything. He's got a sub. Yay. Hey, here's what's up. I think I'm gonna just like stop streaming because there's nothing happening. Well, I don't know. Spine might be. I mean, you've seen me 2 heal Madness, you've seen me 2 heal Spine, so that's like my accomplishments. I don't know if I can top it tonight. I'm just gonna call it quits here because I'm not really saying anything else. And I don't know. It's just not much going on in tonight's stream. But I mean, like I said, I'll do some class looking into beta wise, and I'll put out some shorter videos like related to each of the classes and their beta changes. And if those get a lot of like views and support and people are saying that's a good idea, I can continue down the short video train if that's what people want to see. Because I mean, I know going into this next expansion, when we start doing like raiding again and its progression, I won't be able to live stream it because I'll be recording the videos for our first kills, like our kill point of views. So pretty much like, I mean, this might be like my last live stream for a really long time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if you like my short videos when they come out, support them, I guess. And until then, I guess keep in touch. And as always, like, I'm open to questions and or whatever people need. So send me an email or comments on my YouTube channel. I'll try to answer questions best I can. Later days.